That's my settlement.
What was the settlement? What was the IRS being sued for? What was the accusation?
It was for the leak of his tax returns.
Okay, so the IRS leaked his tax returns?
Joe Rogan and every MAGA voter who has suddenly woken up to how bad Donald Trump is after almost 11 years always says the same thing. They always say Donald Trump lied to me, and they're wrong. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, Donald Trump didn't just lie to Joe Rogan or your MAGA neighbor. No, he lied to all of us. He lied to you, he lied to me. But the difference between us and them is that we were able to decipher the lies, see that they were lies, and know that the liar who built a career on lying was lying to us. And so I don't really feel that sympathetic to these people. But I will share and amplify when they finally start to figure it out. And that is what Joe Rogan did on his show with a Trump file that he read aloud, as Trump must be stunned by how quickly Tucker, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Joe Rogan, who was just in the White House, mind you, so how much can we even trust this guy? But how quickly they have turned on him. We are going to get into it, but it starts with the context of what Rogan read, and that is the breakdown of Donald Trump's $1.80 billion slush fund that Jamie Raskin shared the real truth about.
The way that you were describing it, including your reference to the emoluments clause and other means by which this seems pretty illegal, even to somebody who's not a lawyer, makes me think that these things ought to be stoppable in court. I mean, who has standing to challenge the Board of Peace slush fund that you were just describing, or indeed this new one that they're trying to set up at DOJ?
Well, it won't surprise you to learn that the Roberts Court has made it extremely difficult by erecting the standing doctrine, political question doctrine, sovereign immunity, you name it, making it extremely difficult. And in addition to the fact, of course, that they've said that the president is not subject to criminal prosecution for actual crimes he commits under the auspices of his office. But at this point, everything must be tried in order to try to restore the rule of law in the country. We can't leave any potential tool just sitting on the table. We've got to try to attempt everything. But we must start by trying to get our at least 4 or 5 Republican colleagues to come over to our side to say this is utterly lawless and authoritarian, and it cannot stand. And a couple have made noises like that, but those are people who are in tough re-election races, and they might be trying to send the signal they've got a problem with it. If you've got a Republican running in your district who's saying, yes, this is problematic, ask them, will they sign their name to co-sponsor a bill to block this outrageous expropriation of the tax dollars of the people for completely political purposes, to give to Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, rioters, and insurrectionists, the people who beat up police officers. That's what this is about. It's about funding or pre-funding Donald Trump's private militia.
Now, I wanted to start with what Jamie Raskin had to say, because I think his reading of this slush fund might be the most important and might cut through more than any other analysis that's been offered up. Even Rogan, who is pretty harsh on Donald Trump, as we'll get to in a second, Jamie Raskin is stating what we saw happen at the beginning of Donald Trump's administration. Not just an excusing of the violence carried out on January 6th, but an encouragement of that type of violence. And that's what Donald Trump has done throughout the entirety of his term. He has brought in untrained, unqualified, out-of-control ICE thugs to go and kill people in the streets. Donald Trump has encouraged political violence at every step of his administration. Now he is not just saying, I'm going to give you money because you did it in the past. But those checks, oh, they could come again, right? So be ready. I'll be in my bunker with my canned food, my McDonald's and my medical equipment, with the ballroom above. You get out the pitchforks. That is what Donald Trump is saying. And it is wild to anyone who even looks at the surface of this story, no matter how much the right tries to spin it. And they couldn't even spin it enough apparently for Joe Rogan, who read the document aloud on his show and ripped into Trump, who is seeing all of his supporters turn against him. Now we have more Rogan clips to get into, but I want to start with this one.
The latest thing is that he and his kids and his company cannot be audited.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
How did that?
That's my settlement.
What was the settlement? What was the IRS being sued for? What was the accusation?
It was for the leak of his tax returns.
Okay, so the IRS leaked his tax returns?
He said they were reckless and
settlement of his $10 billion lawsuit.
2018 leak of his tax returns to the New York Times in the U.S. is forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting Trump, his sons, and the Trump Organization's current tax filings, according to one-page document released Tuesday. That is so crazy. Imagine like somebody accused you of murder, and it turns out you weren't guilty of that murder, and then you sue them, and you go, you can never prosecute me for murder again, and then you just go straight Uday Hussein.
Yeah, and they're like, it's cool. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, that's
now,
nuts.
here's the only thing that the detail of that is part of that settlement that it says that that like the language that they cannot be for their current tax filings. Does that mean though that in the future filings also fall under that immunity?
Oh, go back, please. This is crazy. Like, go back to the top of that right there. Under the settlement to resolve Trump's $10 billion lawsuit over the 2018 leak of his tax returns to the New York Times, the U.S. is forever barred and precluded. Yeah. But now look at the end. It was quietly added to the original settlement establishing a $1.8 billion fund to compensate people who Trump thinks were improperly investigated by the government.
January 6th fund, I believe.
Yeah.
They're paying for all of their legal fees.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But $1.8 billion is probably more than their legal fees, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's also going to be for like, I was
compensation.
Yeah.
So do they get compensated?
That depends.
They're all filing, making claims.
Are they?
Yeah, Joe, it is crazy. It is bad. It is wrong. Yes, Donald Trump saying that the IRS can never sue him for his financial crimes again might be an indication that he has committed, is committed, and plans to commit broad fraud for the rest of his life, and that his family business is really just an operation. The Mar-a-Lago mafia not skimming off the top of the government, not taking a little bit here and there, but direct depositing, selling themselves billions of dollars while laughing at us the entire time, slashing our healthcare, and shooting prices to the moon. Yes, Joe, that is what's happening. And that is exactly what we knew was going to happen all along. Jared Kushner left the White House with $2 billion from the Saudis. And I always love bringing this up because it came with conditions. Now probably two. The real number one condition was probably to curry favor with Donald Trump to be carried over into the next term when he eventually runs for office and if he wins the presidency. And I guess that was a good investment, unfortunately for them. But when they invested in Jared Kushner's fund, they did it on the condition that he could not be in charge of the money. That's how dumb Kushner is. That's how dumb Don Jr. is. That's how dumb Eric is. They have built businesses that are successful despite their stupidity. Now might that tell you that something is a little fishy? If Don Jr., I was just cleaning off my nose there. I'm not suggesting anything so nobody sue me. But if Don Jr. is making money, really, that's got to be the scam. Maybe that's the biggest crime of them all. That Don Jr. and Eric, dumb and dumber, dumb as hell, are profiting. I think that's a pretty good sign that they're committing fraud, that they're using the government. And yeah, Joe, we've all known about this. We knew what was going to happen. We told you that they were going to extort the government. We told you they were frauds. You're not some stupid little baby. You can't constantly infantilize yourself. You are a grown-ass adult. And the thing about Rogan that really gets me is that he has a producer. He's got Jamie. Like, I have watched the Joe Rogan podcast every once in a while when Neil deGrasse Tyson is on, or someone cool. I don't know if Paul McCartney went on. I don't think he did. But there have been cool guests. There have been interesting enough guests. Not every episode is chock full of conspiracy and saying Trump is a god. That's not the whole podcast. And that's why it seeps into the culture, because it covers a lot of broad topics. But Jamie, his producer, sometimes you'll hear him say, Jamie, pull that up, it's like a bit. But Jamie is constantly trying to fact check for him and seek out information. Joe Rogan is not just a one-man operation trying to hold it all together. He's not just a person going through the world. He has access to information and the ability to call the President of the United States if he wanted to call the President and maybe voice some of his concerns. Which is why this clip really pisses me off.
Like, well, on their team, it's like,
what we did to Iran. What if Iran nukes New York City? Those kids that live in the Bronx, they had nothing to do with what happened in Iran. So, like, is that okay? Like, what are we talking about?
It's all a mess.
It's fucking nuts.
My brother in Christ, if you are so angry about the war on Iran, call the President of the United States. You were in the Oval Office with your little tight t-shirt and you're like, oh, we're doing the drugs. Or I don't know if you're doing drugs, it's about helping people with PTSD, which is a good undertaking. But this guy is slashing healthcare. I don't really know if Donald Trump is worried about the troops when he's cutting VA benefits and firing veterans who work in the government. That was the beginning of the administration. We've completely forgotten and moved on from that. But you can talk to the guy. Again, unlimited access to information, unlimited access to power, and yet Joe Rogan floats around like, oh, what's going on, what's happening? Now again, these are still good criticisms of Trump, and to me they mean more than when Megyn Kelly does it, or when Tucker does it, or when Marjorie Taylor Greene does it. It means more, not because I want to give Rogan a big old hug, but I see it as a movement in the culture a little bit more, because Rogan is not saying these things for clicks necessarily. He's kind of a buffoon. He's not trying to play the media like Megyn Kelly is, or Tucker Carlson is. He's genuinely confused because he's a big old dummy, right? So maybe he shouldn't be offering up his political advice. If you have spent the last year and a half as a guy talking about politics on a podcast going, oh, I didn't really expect that to happen. Everything I've predicted has been the opposite of what's happened. You can always turn the mic off, bud. You can shut the camera off. I continue to do this podcast because I hope you all enjoy it. But I've been right a couple of times. Not to throw a little pat on the old back, but we're usually pretty bang on. And if I kept messing up, I might suggest turning the metaphorical channel. That's not what happens. It's just like, how did this happen? Like with Epstein too.
Why would your name be redacted if you're not a victim? Like, this is what's crazy about all this. Like, how come you redact some people and you don't redact other people? Like, what is this? This is not good. None of this is good for this administration. It looks fucking terrible. It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax. Like, did you not know? Maybe he didn't know, if you want to be charitable. But this is definitely not a hoax. And if you've got redacted people's names and these people aren't victims, you're not protecting the victim. So what are you doing?
Right.
And how come all this shit is not released? Like,
you would think that all of it would just, like, get rid of all of it. Just expel it all.
It's crazy. So this is the conspiracy that drives me the most crazy, because I don't like it.
Dude, are you serious? I've said this so many times on the show. Anytime you hear a MAGA person go, oh, this is bad PR, this is a bad look. No, them raping kids isn't a bad look. It's just bad. The cover-up of the files isn't a bad look. It's just bad. So yes, Rogan is calling out Trump, but it's still infuriating. I'm going to uplift it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to watch the MAGA infighting. But my god, these people drive me crazy. And if you are driven as crazy as I am and you want to stick around for some of our ranting as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you.